Donald Trump speaking at the Bethel United Methodist Church in Flint, Michigan, and interrupted by one of the sponsors, could be a pastor at this event, saying this was not to be political. I'm paraphrasing there. This is what candidates do, though, on the left or the right. They make an appearance, they get into a political discussion, and then to the discussion du jour. So many people are going to step back from that and say, was that a fair or proper thing to do on the part of this woman who came up and interrupted Donald Trump, or Donald Trump to go into a political broadside at the opening of those remarks in a city, of course, that's had to deal with all that contaminated water, and something that it was clear Mr. Trump was blaming on those who let this situation get out of control. He might have been referring to the White House or federal government authorities. The state is run by a Republican governor, so we go back and forth and back and forth. But it does occur on a day the polls are narrowing, certainly in Michigan. They have reversed in Ohio, where Donald Trump leads, and right now they are improving in Nevada. This is Donald Trump now leaving Flint, Michigan. I believe my friend and colleague Karl Rove was witnessing all of this. What did you make of it?
Well, it's, you know, you go into some environments in which you're not expected to be political, and, you know, there's somebody reacted to that, and they would have reacted to it. If they hadn't interrupted him then, they would have said something about it later. But I give Trump credit for going to places. He went to Louisiana in the immediate aftermath of the flood. He went to Detroit and gave, I think, a spectacular presentation in a church on Saturday a couple weeks ago. I think this is important for him to go, and he gets points for showing up. It demonstrates that he's willing to consider the problems of people who are not, you know, run-of-the-mill Republicans.
You know, and maybe just me, Karl, but Trump's reaction to getting interrupted there, and whether this was the venue, a religious venue, again, a Methodist church, to get into what that people can debate that, I guess, depending on what side you're on. But he handled it in a way that we think is a little different from the early Donald Trump, where he might have lambasted or the host there. He didn't do that. He was very, you know, professional about it, and went back to a brief discussion of what's at stake, and just sort of glossed over it. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I thought that, look, the guy's got a lot of charm, and when he wants to turn it on, he can turn it on. I think there's a difference between the Donald Trump that we see either reading off a teleprompter, and he's getting very good at teleprompter speeches, and the Donald Trump that we see in places like this where it's not a huge rally, because we get to see a guy who's more low-key, a more even tone, can handle something like that with a great deal of aplomb and create a very good impression. You saw it in Mexico City in the aftermath of the meeting with President Nieto. I thought that news conference was a very different Donald Trump than we might have expected to see in a high-stakes diplomatic moment like that.
What do you make of the latest action in some of these polls that show reversal from where we were just a few weeks ago in Ohio? Right now, where Donald Trump has built a lead, in Nevada, where he's got a slight lead, this is a reversal of positions of just again, as recently as last week in the case of Ohio. But there's something more going on. Even in these other states, as you point out, North Carolina, we got news out of there last week. He is either narrowing or reversing early Clinton leads. Is she stumbling or is he surging?
The answer to that is yes. To both. Look, her peak in the Real Clear Politics average was about the 7th of August, when she had a 7.9 lead in the national average of polls. As of today, it's just about 3%. And as it is narrowed nationally, it is narrowed in some, not all states. Ohio, you just pointed to, 5-point margin in a Bloomberg poll run by a pretty respected firm, Seltzer, out of Iowa. I understand it's just been joined this afternoon by another poll run by CNN that shows a 5-point margin for Trump in this critical battleground state. Similarly, he's shown improvement in Florida. You mentioned Nevada. He actually was ahead in Nevada until the end of July in the Real Clear Politics average. There haven't been a lot of polls there, but he led until the end of July. The race is essentially dead even there. That shows the Monmouth, looking at Monmouth in July and Monmouth in September. And as you can see, he's risen 3, she's dropped 3. That's just one poll, but it's nice to look at the changes in one poll over time because they'll have the same methodology intact. So he still has a long way to go. He takes Florida. He keeps all the Romney states. He takes Florida. That gets him to 235. He takes Ohio, that gets him to 253. He takes Nevada, that gets him to 259. He's still 11 short. Even if he gets Iowa, which is a state that he's also leading in today, that gets him to 265. But he's got to get something else big to get there. And maybe something small. He's a new poll out of Maine, shows him leading in the 2nd district of Maine. Maine is one of 2 states that splits its vote on a congressional district basis, and he's leading in one of those districts, giving him 1 additional electoral college vote. So it's gonna be really interesting to watch. But he's got a few paths to victory. She got a lot more, but he's making some real good progress the last month.
Yeah, he's got more paths than he had a couple of weeks ago. Wow.
Yeah.
So, Karl Rove, thank you very, very much.